Good morning again. And the last few days I've been talking about the puja, the Sevenfold Puja, the practice of worship that we do in Buddhism, and that I said at the start is basically as important as meditation because we need to recognize where we are realistically in terms of freeing ourselves from negative mental states. And in order to free ourselves, we need to see the gap between ourselves and those that have gained enlightenment, or that are, you could just say, are wiser and more compassionate, are kinder than we are right now. And I think we would all like to head in that direction of being more compassionate and wiser. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother to practice. So, yes, that's what we're aiming for. And when we do the puja, I talked about those first two verses as entering a world where there is real beauty, real reverence for those who have gained enlightenment. The kind of respect we might have for say, a martial arts teacher. We wouldn't mind bowing down to them because it's part of the ritual that we go through, showing our respect. And as Buddhists, we are showing our respect to the highest ideal, which is the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. So we began with a worship section and a salutation section where we bowed, and then we went for refuge. Going for refuge was the third section. And in that section, we really turned the whole of our body, speech, and mind towards those three jewels. And, the start of that verse, this very day I go for my refuge, was a real declaration with other people that that's the direction that we want to go in. And after that, we chanted the refuges and precepts, those 5 precepts that we are, you could say, are the guidance of our life. That we want to be kinder, we want our speech to be purified, we want to be mindful, and so on. And then after that, we had this confession section that I talked about yesterday. And please listen to that if you haven't. So today I'm going to talk about rejoicing in merits. So this is a verse that very much goes alongside the confession, and it balances it, you could say. So we've purified ourselves by being open about all our faults, all the many ways that we hurt ourselves, other people, and the world. So, yes, having freed ourselves in that way, well, we feel joyful. We feel unburdened, you could say. Our conscience is much clearer by, over time, letting go, freeing ourselves through feeling remorse, through feeling genuine remorse, not guilt, certainly not irrational guilt, but freeing ourselves by just being able to admit to ourselves, the pain and suffering that is caused by things that we do, things we say, and even things we think. So it's a practice that is part of the larger part of changing ourselves, of developing ourselves. So then we come to rejoicing in merits, and we're able to rejoice because we feel that sense of freedom of having let go of being burdened by our own unskillfulness. And we rejoice then in other people. We can't rejoice in others unless we are a happy, healthy human being. There's always that niggle otherwise, that of jealousy, that we can't quite feel really wholeheartedly joyful at other people having good fortune, being perhaps more compassionate and wise and kind than we are. It's great to acknowledge that, because if we can really acknowledge that, we can be more open to moving in that direction. Otherwise, we're defended. We feel very small and tight if we feel threatened by other people being more than we are ourselves, or having more than we've got. So I've talked before about the 4 Brahma Viharas, the meditations that are the sublime, the meditations of the sublime gods, you could say. So the first of those is metta, and we're all very familiar with the metta bhavana, the practice of loving kindness. But there are 3 other Brahma Viharas. So the second one is karuna, or compassion. So when our metta touches other people's pain, rather, when our metta meets other people's pain, it automatically flowers into compassion. So the third one is mudita, or sympathetic joy, or gladness in other people's good fortune, good qualities, and so on. So that too is something that has to be developed. It's not there automatically because of our jealousy, because of our defensiveness, because of our wanting approval and wanting to be the best. So we're comparing ourselves all the time with other people, even subconsciously, but often very consciously as well. And rejoicing, making it a practice of noticing and commenting on and feeling really joyful that other people are successful, are going beyond themselves, or are just even naturally kinder and more compassionate and wiser than we are. So it's a very important practice to free ourselves. And it often tells us a lot about what our own states of mind are. Because when we're feeling abundant and a happy, healthy human being, of course, then we don't feel jealous of other people. We don't feel that envy, because we feel full within ourselves. We feel whole. So in this verse, we're rejoicing particularly in those who have gained enlightenment, because that's what we are wanting to do. And so we find out about the lives of those who have gone beyond the negative states of mind, who have freed themselves, become totally free, which is fascinating. It's fascinating to look into that and see how that has happened. And whatever we've done, whatever anybody has done, there's always the freedom to be had if we really turn towards and recognise, through confession and through recognising the gap between ourselves and those who are a lot more developed than we are ourselves. So within Triratna, we do make quite a habit, if you like, a very positive habit of rejoicing in other people. And there are wonderful times when we do that. For example, when people become mitras, when they decide that they really want to follow a Buddhist path, and they go through a ceremony, usually within the context of a Sevenfold Puja, where they make offerings to the shrine, and they're introduced, each of those people are introduced to the Sangha and rejoiced in the path that they've taken and in their qualities. And when somebody goes on their ordination retreat, so within the Triratna, when people are ready to be ordained, they go on a long retreat, so they disappear for 3 or 4 months, and before that the Sangha get together and rejoice in in the path that they've taken, in their qualities, in the hard work they've done to get to that point within their practice. So rejoicing is very important, and it's very important to see it alongside confession. You know, confession isn't about bashing yourself up and feeling rotten. And as I said yesterday, there's nobody to absolve you. You know, we have to purify ourselves. But through this practice of confession, we free ourselves. That's the whole purpose of it. We become lighter, and we become more confident, and therefore can rejoice in other people quite freely without those niggling undertones of jealousy or envy. So that's a little bit about rejoicing and why we do it. And I'll see you tomorrow.